So I'll be talking about the INTJ subtypes today and provide you with theory descriptions provided by Meged and Ovcharov, then provide some video examples of this personality type. Disclaimer, if you are a Myers-Briggs fan, I am talking about INTPs today. If you want the INTJ Myers-Briggs, go to the other version of this video entitled INTP. But as a quick summary, I'm talking about the INTP, but I refer to them as INTJ in the Socionics term, which is Russian Myers-Briggs. So just to dive in right away, I'm going to provide you quick key variables to look for and remove the fact, but you can pause the videos if you want to know more about them. So the introverted thinking subtype is, when looking for these types, look for the fact they're very calm and serious and self-contained. They can be categorical in their judgments. They're very quiet. They seem very silent at times and very quiet. But they do provide an impression of someone who has a strong-willed personality, so it's a quietness mixed with strength in expression. Their speech tends to be very precise and abrupt, and they also provide themselves with an expression as being someone who's balanced, even, correct, and unemotional. But their facial expressions also don't tend to be very expressive in that sense. And another key factor is that they're very when they describe something, they express it with very lengthy discussion and full of figures with an analysis and facts. So as a quick summary and overview for this subtype, just notice that they're very quiet, serious, balanced, but they're also very insightful in their approach. So they're categorical, but they also present themselves as being very serious, self-contained, calm, compared to the other personality types. This also expresses themselves with a strong willedness. So it's a collective aspect when expressing themselves to the world. So there's a collectivism and controlledness when they do show their personalities to others. Now for the extroverted intuition subtype for the INTJs. These types tend to actually appear more soft and even a little more diffident in communication. They're also very restrained and attentive. They have goodwill, and it usually permeates in their voice. They can have a serious demeanor at times. They have nervous pressure within intonations of their voice and with impulsive gestures. So the gestures can be somewhat uncoordinated at the same time. Very awkward, I would actually describe it. And their pose tends to be very calm at the same time, and their expression to the world is also calm, but it's also very careful at the same time. So the overall summary, I would say, for this personality type is that they're very soft, careful, and considerate when talking to other people. But at the same time, they also appear very uncertain, and that's probably the key word I would say. They appear soft and uncertain with other people. So there's a very controlled aspect and very logical approach when discussing things with people, but it also seems very scattered or uncertain or very calm at the same time. So it's a very soft uncertainty. And this uncertainty is actually a very key variable because it can actually appear as a form of nervousness, but it's just a difficulty in expressing themselves at the same time. So just to provide you quick two summaries of the two subtypes, the introverted thinking subtype tends to be calm and collected and quiet and strong-willed, while the extroverted intuition subtype tends to be more soft, uncertain, in expressing themselves to the world. Just as quick overviews, with this kind of personality type, you'll usually find them as being very great scientists or very logical people at the same time. So they are introverts still, but they're very smart and probably one of the best philosophers or thinkers out there, alongside with the INTP personality type. So those are the quick descriptions, and I'm going to leave you with the video examples of the two personality types.
It makes him like the great leader of any country. And he's dominating China to the extent possible to try to hold it together.
Beyond what would be considered normal?
Well, China has historically been dictatorships, Mao Zedong. China has frequently been regionalized so that it doesn't have a center. China is a complex country. There's no one model that it always holds. Given the economic crisis, given the sociological realities of China, the danger for China is that regional powers will take over. That is, the party in Shanghai will not want to give money to the interior.
You really can't even purchase in Washington, but
true.
It is available in other parts of the world. Monasteries, for example. Where was I? Okay, the first thing you do is you say, we're going to go at this piece by piece.
Yes.
The first one that is the biggest, lowest hanging fruit, and that was not even touched by Obamacare, scandalously, is tort reform. The medical malpractice system is totally out of control. Everybody in the system knows it. And it's not just the outrageous judgments. It's not just the fact that some people get millions of dollars, others get nothing, and the one people who get rich are lawyers. It's that it causes doctors to practice defensive medicine.
Yes.
I understand there's a lot of passion on all sides of this debate. Central banking isn't a passionate business. It's subjective, it's analytic, it's evidence-based, and the judgments we take, and I would emphasize the we, these are judgments taken by independent committees, 9 members on the Monetary Policy Committee. Those judgments are carefully considered. And those judgments only reflect our remits, our mandates, the issues we have to deliver. So we have to deliver the inflation target. We have to look out over...
about inflation and so forth, but not about sovereignty.
Exactly. The issues around the referendum are much, much broader than the issues that concern the Bank of England. So when we look, and the Monetary Policy Committee with the most recent forecast, its most recent decision...
Man, and he often used to tease me. He said, you know, you've been in university for 10 years, and I didn't even go at all. How do you explain the value that you add for those extra 10 years? So I always thought, you know, I ought to be able to write things that my father will understand, and my mother, and my friends, and policymakers. So I try to write in a manner which is accessible, while at the same time not neglecting the academic rigor, which is important. So if one looks at this book on the future path.
The population increased very slowly, our technology improved, but by very slow steps. And just recently, you know, this is what's called an exponential. It's flat for a long time, and then boom, you suddenly get a huge increase. Increase in population, increase in technology, increase in pollution, increase in our powers to disturb the environment, to change the planetary environment. But we're the same old human beings as we were 1,000 years ago and 100,000 years ago. Not much has changed with us. And so it's very hard for us to catch on that there's a new situation and we have to adapt to it. On the other hand...
In Louisville, Kentucky, Mr. and Mrs. Cassius Marcellus Clay christened their newborn son Cassius Clay, Jr. 22 years later, Cassius Clay renounced his name and its associations and elected to call himself Muhammad Ali, which is, of course, how we shall refer to him tonight. Even as tomorrow, should he change his name back, we would refer to him as Cassius Clay. In changing his name, Muhammad Ali intended to disavow his culture and to adopt membership in the black Muslim movement of which he is an apostle. When, a little bit later, he was called by the Selective Service Board to serve in the armed forces, Muhammad Ali explained that he was proof against such laws as a minister of the Islamic faith.
For 14 years that I just got rid of. You know, having a film crew kind of following you around and messing with everything you're doing all the time is the thing with me. I mean, Adam loves that kind of stuff, but with me, I'm actually interested in what we were doing. You know, and so I was trying to focus on stuff, and so all the while, everything that you saw, we've got like, you know, a bunch of camera people that are in my shop taking things out of my drawers and putting them in other drawers where I don't know they are.
It's about helping make life multiplanetary and doing what we can to continue the dream of Apollo and ultimately make a contribution to life becoming multiplanetary.
Let's talk a little more about that. I think
chose to give up the known in favor of the unknown So I think exploration, like I think the United States is a distillation of the human spirit of exploration. So that's why it appeals to Americans so much. You can see this when, say, there was a shuttle tragedy and 7 people died, and that's terrible. But a lot of people die all the time. But why do we care so much? Because it was the dream of exploration that was dying along with those people. That's why.
We didn't realize it, but it's actually really hard to get around.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people either get used to waiting for a bus, used to driving a car usually, or used to just not being able to go somewhere when they want to. It could even be like, hey, you want to go to a restaurant, but you don't know how you're going to get back because maybe you have a glass of wine or two. This is about safe, reliable transportation. No matter where you are in the world, it's 5 minutes away.
How did you
Well, I was with my co-founder. We were in Paris, and we couldn't get a taxi. And anybody who's been out late in Paris knows, like, it's very likely you're going to be walking back to your hotel if you're a visitor, or walking back home if you live there. And we just wanted to push a button and get a ride. And it was actually my co-founder. He's like, I want to push a button and get a ride. And I'm like, that sounds like an amazing thing. Let's go do that. And we went back to San Francisco, and then we started working on it.
Particles of different masses. So maybe there's some interesting idea where dark matter just isn't as simple as has been commonly assumed. And that can explain some of these variations. And that's also another approach to sort of being a little bit less canonical about what's going on. I think people, again, people tend to just believe in what they see. And if science has taught us anything, it should be that what we see is not everything that's there, that there's a lot of things that can be there that we have never seen. Now, the thing is, we can imagine things. We can think about them mathematically or conceptually without literally seeing them. And that's what's so beautiful. We can imagine an atom, which is a quantum state with an electron around a nucleus, without being able to go inside and actually see it. I mean, there are tools we have now to study atoms.
And I started Starcraft 2 about a year ago. Actually, my brother bet me that I couldn't beat him, so I started playing, and after like a month or so, I played him much. I beat him 6-0.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I thought I could beat mostly just top Terran players, but I didn't think I would beat Terius because my Zerg vs. Zerg is really kind of weak. Mm-hmm. But I don't know, he played really aggressive, and I defended easily, so I was ahead every game, but game 1 I just stupid attack.
Look at my numbers, which is better than, theories and speculations. If I look at my numbers, we've stimulated the French economy massively in the year 2009, end of 2008, 2009. And my numbers are now going up. I've got growth up 1.6% from negative 2.6. I've got unemployment down from 9.6 down to 9.3. And I've got deficit down as well from 8.2, where we thought it would be, down to 7.7. So numbers are good. Unemployment is going down. Why would I inject more public money into the system when private investment
is there for people to watch, like the people that are currently on top of their game in the respective regions can make it out there and wow the crowds. At the same time, you have open qualifiers where John Doe, where basically anyone can come and play and say, hey, these star players that think that their position is so secure, I've been practicing and I want to qualify too. I want to make my own dreams possible too. So if someone from those qualies gets to go to China, they're going to be exposed to like an experience that would never be possible without such grassroots tournaments like WTA and like WCG before. And BlizzCon in a way also has a lot of people just being able to qualify, unknown, but making it, and we need that.
Than GDP. It actually depends upon what the rate of technological progress is in transportation compared with the rate of technological progress elsewhere. And the rapid trade growth that we became accustomed to was the combination of trade liberalization over the decades, and then after about 1990, a burst of trade growth probably driven by containerization, possibly better telecommunications, you would expect that to be a one-time event. Now we have generally very liberal trade all around the world. We've pretty much exploited those technologies. It's no surprise and not a thing to be worried about if trade growth slows to being no faster than or maybe even a bit slower than GDP growth.
I was talking to one of our producers, a guy named Matt Hawley, he and I have worked together for, wow, probably over 10 years now. And we were talking about sort of the cycle we went through from the Council project to shipping Overwatch. And for us, there was this moment, it felt like the completion of the circle. Like we had finally come full circle, and there was sort of this closure moment. And we thought we were done at that point. Like we had done it, we had accomplished what we had hoped to accomplish, and it turned out better than we imagined. And what was weird is the year just kind of got away from us. Like the game took off and a lot of people really responded to it. And we're sitting at over 25 million players now. And we sort of won a bunch of these awards. And I was talking to Matt about it, and I said, we thought we had done the circle, and I guess there was a little bit more to go on that. And boy.
My name's Mike Morheim. I'm the CEO, president, and co-founder of Blizzard Entertainment. Been doing this 20 years. My story of Starcraft, it's kind of a long story, but one of our first games that we did as Blizzard Entertainment was Warcraft. And after we released Warcraft 2, we were thinking about what to do next, and we said, well, we want to do another real-time strategy game, but this time, why don't we set it in space? And so we started thinking about what that might look like and how to kind of evolve Warcraft 2. Thing with Warcraft 2.
Ian Terry from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania originally. I currently live in New Orleans. I'm a chemical engineering student at Tulane University. This show since I was 10 years old. Basically, this is like a little kid that dreams of being an astronaut going to the moon. This is very, very cool for me to do this. I never expected it in a million years. I just went to a casting call. I had a free night, and here I am. So,
I want men who are competent and powerful, and I don't mean power in that they can exert tyrannical control over others. That's not power. That's just corruption. Power is competence, and why in the world would you not want a competent partner? Well, I know why actually. You can't dominate a competent partner. So if you want domination,
want to dominate, is that what you're saying?
No, I'd say women who have had their relationships impaired, their relationships with men impaired, and who are afraid of such relationships will settle for a weak partner because they can dominate them. But it's a suboptimal solution.
Do you think that's what a lot of women are doing?
I think there's a substantial minority of women who do that. And I think it's very bad for them. They're very unhappy. It's very bad for their partners.